During a 90-80 loss to the Minnesota Lynx on Saturday, Caitlin Clark and the Indiana Fever suffered their first loss during the Olympic break. Make sure to like and subscribe. Now in their season series, the Fever and Lynx have each won one game. Even with another strong effort, several supporters believe the former Iowa star was mistreated by the officials all through the game. During the game, 3 divisive calls were found that had spectators armed. First occurrence fans observed had just under 4 minutes left in the second quarter. Shoving Lynx guard Kayla McBride to the ground resulted in Clark being called for an offensive foul. Others felt McBride flopped, while some claimed Clark was being held before the foul. With 6:40 left in the third, the second dubious choice fans called the refs out on. When McBride walked over to challenge Clark's three-point attempt, Clark knocked him to the floor. The game went on as the referee, who was directly next to the play, did not sound the whistle. While some supporters said Clark was flailing, others called this a blatant foul. At last, with less than a minute left in the third quarter, supporters decided Clark had been charged with a phantom travel call. She seemed to rotate with her right foot, then go legally to her left, but the official might have noticed a small shuffle of her feet. Still, fans felt the call was off target. The Lynx outplayed the Fever for most of the game, leading for the last 37 minutes of action even with a couple dubious calls. With 23 points on 8 of 18 shooting, 5 rebounds, and 8 assists, Clark still emerged from the battle with the Fever falls to 13-16 on the season with the loss. The Lynx leaps to 22-7, therefore formally securing a playoff spot. The Indiana Fever and Minnesota Lynx game recently generated a lot of debate as Indiana Fever supporters expressed their displeasure, mostly with relation to the officiating of Caitlin Clark's performance. With a final score of 90-80, the Fever's narrow loss left many fans feeling as though important events involving Caitlin Clark were mishandled by the officials, therefore influencing the game's result. Star with great playmaking and deep shooting range, Caitlin Clark found herself in the center of the debate. She dropped 23 points, grabbed 3 rebounds, and threw out 8 assists. But the officiating really stole front stage. Fever supporters highlighted after multiple dubious rulings, including what they thought to be missed fouls against Clark and 2 forceful ones that stopped her momentum. These discrepancies in officiating resulted in charges of unfair treatment as Clark couldn't fully exploit her offensive ability. One of the key events in the game was Clark being called for a foul at a decisive point, which Fever supporters say changed the tide in favor of the Lynx. The call not only threw Indiana's rhythm off, but also appeared to slow down Clark's usual aggressive approach of play, therefore depriving her of the ability to affect the game as forcefully as she usually could. The line, "WNBA can't keep getting away with this," emphasizes the mounting annoyance among supporters who believe that inconsistent officiating regularly impedes the excitement and energy that elite players like Clark bring to the league. Although Caitlin Clark is still among the WNBA's most brilliant young talents, this episode highlights continuous questions about the fairness and quality of league refereeing. Dealing with officiating issues will be crucial going ahead if the WNBA wants to keep expanding its audience and preserving the excitement players like Clark bring. All things considered, even although Caitlin Clark gave a strong performance for the Fever, dubious officiating that Fever supporters believe contributed to their team's loss to the Lynx dominated her performance. The debate about refereeing and star treatment in the WNBA is far from finished, regardless of whether this was really unfair treatment or perhaps part of the intensity of professional sports. The line "WNBA can't keep getting away with this" also hints at a deeper worry that transcends mere bad officiating. It suggests possible prejudice or discrimination against Caitlin Clark, who is today one of the league's most promising talents. Having become the quickest player in WNBA history to reach 500 points and 200 assists, Clark's quick ascent has made her a target not only for rival defenses, but maybe even for officials. Her explosive play style and breakout success highlight her every movement and draw attention to her every action. Some supporters worry that this extra scrutiny could result in more severe court treatment. As Clark kept up amazing stats in the latest game against the Minnesota Lynx, her remarkable skill set was on full show. But the contentious officiating in that game has many people guessing that the officials are singling her out. Fever supporters contend that Clark, the top player in the league right now, might be subject to a kind of reaction from officials either subconsciously or perhaps purposefully trying to prevent her from ruling. This apparent unjust treatment could result from animosity towards her fast success, since her easy takeover of games could be upsetting the intended equilibrium of competitiveness. This concept of discrimination is disturbing since it compromises the fundamental meritocratic character of sports, where the best athletes should flourish depending on their skill and effort, not be limited by biased refereeing. Given Clark's reputation as the top player in the league, if officials are indeed treating her more harshly, it begs grave issues about WNBA fairness. Being constantly targeted by dubious calls could not only hinder a player like Clark's performance, but also undermine her confidence and league reputation, as she is breaking records and shattering expectations. The WNBA runs the danger of alienating both fans and players if it lets such events go unpackled. Fair officiating should honor Caitlin Clark's extraordinary ability and shield it from any biased treatment. The league's obligation is to make sure every player, especially those who are shattering records and spearheading the next generation, has the chance to shine free from unfair or biased refereeing. The WNBA runs the danger of alienating both fans and players if it keeps letting such events go unpackled. Fair officiating should honor Caitlin Clark's extraordinary ability and shield it from any biased treatment. The league's obligation is to make sure every player, especially those shattering records and spearheading the next generation, has the chance to flourish free from hindrance from erratic or biased refereeing. Should the WNBA ignore these issues, its credibility and reputation may suffer, implying that achievement and greatness are greeted with unjustified challenges rather than accolades. This would not only irritate players, but also demoralize a fan base expecting greatest standards of sportsmanship and ethics. Furthermore, if top players like Clark are observed to be unfairly singled out, it could discourage other young players from realizing their full potential, since biased refereeing would therefore prevent them too. Thanks in great part to its vibrant young stars like Clark, the WNBA is becoming more and more popular. Any impression of favoritism or discrimination might dampen that momentum. Fans want to see the top players flourish, and they want games decided on skill and strategy rather than dubious calls that would seem to discredit the league's most outstanding players. The WNBA, at this critical point in its development, must prioritize the integrity of the game. Fair and transparent officiating isn't just about ensuring a level playing field, it's about maintaining the respect and trust of the league's loyal supporters and players. As Caitlin Clark continues to make history, the league must rise to the occasion by guaranteeing that her success and that of other athletes is determined by their performance on the court, not the whims of inconsistent refereeing. Failure to do so risks stunting the league's progress and overshadowing the incredible talent it seeks to promote. At this pivotal juncture of development, the WNBA has to give the integrity of the game first priority. Fair and open officiating goes beyond simply guaranteeing a level playing field to preserve the respect and confidence of the league's devoted players and followers. The league has to step forward as Caitlin Clark makes history to ensure that her success, as that of other athletes, is based on their performance on the court, not the whims of unfair officiating. Ignoring this runs the danger of stagnating the league's development and underplaying the extraordinary ability it aims to highlight. Make sure to like and subscribe.